Welcome to the Gutenhame scientists and mathematicians. I love you long time. Thank you for being here. Sincerely, as we enter round 2 of putting the SeRe GoBe self-revelation golden bento on the table of discovery, so scientists and mathematicians can take a hammer and a blowtorch to it, if I can deliver it properly. The best way to recap tape 1 would be to steal this little sweet riff. It's pretty nice.
We're looking for the greatest of the greatest great, starting with the greatest thought possible, leading to the greatest experience possible, presented in the form of the greatest painting possible, in the shape of a geometric sequence derived from a mathematical pattern which is going to allow us to present the greatest experience possible to the scientific community.
Huh? That's pretty sweet, yeah? That felt good coming out. So to present an experience to the scientific community, we got to get past the armed sentries called falsifiability and testability, which we kind of went over in tape 1, which is mostly structures and hooks and a bunch of bold claims and predictions which are necessary because there's no way to disprove somebody else's experience. However, it is testable if you can make a bunch of predictions against it, which I think we may have achieved. We'll find out. Here in the Gutenhame, we don't want to be right. We want to know the truth. And 5 eyes are better than 1 if you're looking for nub in all the right places. SeRe GoBe is a love story. It's the love story, actually. You can see it is an image, a very structural image, stripped clean of any concept or cleverness or decoration or ornament that may cause error in translation. Structurally, it is a pigment on surface, which makes it a painting very relevant to several things. It's not just one canvas, it's an array of individuated canvases arranged in the Fibonacci golden ratio golden rectangle. There are currently 3 versions, Math of 2, Math of 3, Math of 4, and each one consists of 4 paintings. You have the self-revelation bento. Take away the top, you have the cathedral bento, then you have the heart bento, and then the holy bento. However, in order to tell this love story, we need to become familiar with this. No matter what philosophy or intelligence or tale that you would put onto it, when you go back to the beginning, the farthest back you can go is black. Black's the beginning. We've gone over the Malevich, Flood, Da Vinci stories before that kind of illustrate. It's been used as such for over 800 years, and we're not going to change it. But you do have to define what this means in you, as well as to find a common ground where we can all start at the same place. And to do that, the first structure we want to look at is the 3 states of consciousness, which has been written about for thousands of years for a reason. There is a lot of information in it. The first state is a waking state, and we want to make sure that we are here, that we exist in some capacity. Our mind is on, there's a scene about us, and stuff is happening. The next state is the dream sleep, where we're going to go to bed and we're going to have some dreams. A little bit of a different scene going on, but we are present, existing somehow. The mind is on, and there is a scene with stuff happening. Third state is the deep sleep state, which is kind of a conundrum because it is not experienced, right? The mind is off. You are not there. There is no seed about you. It's like a gap that doesn't occur. Yet we know through evidence that it happens. That evidence is when we wake up, we look at the clock. It's not the hands of the clock, it's the movement of the hands. If you don't have a clock, it doesn't matter because the entire waking state is in the shape of a clock. The sun was not up when I fell asleep, and it is up when I awake. So the fourth thing needed, the clock or movement, is really a quality in the first thing. The fourth thing is the first thing. There's nothing really to say about any of those states except to know that they exist. So everything good so far? We have a waking state and 2 sleep states. We have 2 states that the mind are on and 1 state that the mind is off. And there's kind of a 4th thing that is actually the first thing. Right? This is fit for a 10-year-old. In my experience, this is how I woke up every day for about 40 years at the time. Wake, dream, sleep, wake, dream, sleep, wake, dream, sleep. And then one day, I woke up from here. All that stuff happened before the point where I usually woke up, and that is this story. It's about a 90-second experience. The potency of it is that it is true across all dimensions, which we're calling omnidimensional. And also, it is just a slowed down version of the way everybody wakes up every morning. It just usually happens so fast that we don't catch it. Maybe you guys will know, 1,000th of a second. But if you told me it was 9 minutes, I wouldn't know the difference. The important thing here is, one, we haven't left our own experience. You are your own authority on your life, your dreams, and this thing. Can anyone fill you in on it? No, it's the same for them. Our starting point is the state of deep sleep, the third state of consciousness, they call it. And most say there's a fourth called Turiya, which means fourth. All right, before we dig in, I cannot stress enough how important this first part is. The first structure is the greatest structure. So if we were to ask the question, for example, what is a greater space, or all of the objects that could ever fit into space, even cumulative? The answer would be space. Space does not need the objects to exist. The objects need space to exist. Space is greater structurally. There's nothing to do about it. Yeah, we don't get a vote in it. That's the answer I want. The one I don't get a vote in. It just is what it is. As far as I can tell, it is the only self-same experience for everybody. The only place there is no variation. And we're going to make the supposition that even if there is a fractalized version or different individualized or copies in some kind of quantum reality, that the experience of nothing will still be the same throughout. There's not two different experiences of nothing. And the state of deep sleep is the farthest back that we can go in our own experience. However, the device we're using to talk about it, the brain/mind, does not even know the state of deep sleep exists. Does not even know it exists. There's the conundrum. So your ability to become intimate with this thing in whatever ways or means will affect all of the rest of the understanding. Although intellectually we might just be using pure pattern recognition. Except for the metaphysics guys who kind of know all this stuff. This is all ancient stuff. And even then, it will be simple. We're going to get really simple. We invited a 10-year-old to come in and try to figure out the rug that ties the room together in the theory of everything. I'm trying to get this down to the level of a child, and I know so little about sciences of physics and mathematics that I'm going to sound like a 10-year-old to you anyways. But getting simple is the key. So here we go. The same thing as every single night of our lives. We usually wake up from here. Today we're going to wake up from here, starting in the state of deep sleep, non-existence, nothingness, whatever you choose to call it. We're here now. The first thing to occur out of non-existence, and slowly so, is the emerging of the knowingness of oneself. The emerging of the knowingness of yourself. It's not a singularity, it is the singularity. Definitively, the state of oneness. It is whole and complete in and of itself. Nothing ever need be added to it. And it is completely unambiguous in experience. There is only one thing to be, and it is you. You watch yourself arise out of non-existence. It is my great pleasure to tell you definitively 100% that roughly 99.9% of your experience right now is this same self-knowing. Next thing that occurs is what you just watched. Light. And it affects you just about as much as it just did watching it on the screen. Not at all. Also, it is a complete surprise. There is no command or desire or anything whatsoever that precedes it. It is what I would call a singularity, which I don't really understand the definition of, never have. But the way I'm using it here is there's nothing else to be. There's nothing else present. The first thing that arose was definitively you. This is definitively not you, because it doesn't affect you. But there's nothing else to be, so it kind of is you too. There are no words for it, except to say light occurs. And it is the only thing besides you occurring. Then, fast as the speed of light, you separate from yourself. It also is a complete surprise. There is no command or desire that precedes it. The form in which you separate from yourself is every bit the same as the end of Star Wars at the end, where they go into light speed. Just like that, except faster. It is a tube of light. You are in the tube of light as the tube of light. Part of you has stayed and part of you has left yourself. The very same self that just arose a few moments before. It is also completely unambiguous, yet multiple points of view start occurring from this moment on. So it gets a little more complex. After a while, the movement that is you as you, moving away from itself, stops. Whether or not there's an energy that keeps moving, as shown in the picture, I don't know. So there is a little ambiguity with that, yet I think the continuing energy is necessary to recognize the stopping of the energy, but you don't go with it. So what's happening is pure knowingness. Pure knowingness is so much greater than what we got going here. Yet once multiple points of view starts happening, there are dominant points of view and you don't choose them. And you did not choose the stopping too. So far, everything has been a complete surprise, as if you are the audience watching a movie that you have never seen before. Out of this stopping point, which is a small point in an infinite sea of the very same light that occurred a few moments ago, sound ramps up, creates a bubble, closes, ramps up, creates a smaller bubble just like a snowman, or closes, ramps up, and then you're back in the tube again. For clarity so far, this is an unbroken view. It has not flinched whatsoever. That's the main revealing. The structure is made of sound, 100%. There is no audible sound or device to hear the sound. It's just knowingness of sound. Also, you feel yourself shaping into this. It's like a snowman, but when you get to the head, you're off again. But there's no feeling mechanism. There's no words for it. But this is the best we can do. The head doesn't actually form. You're off again. This is you in the tube as the tube, and that's the predominant view. It's shorter than the first one, and it's only until you enter into the back of the heart area, between the shoulder blades of the very body that you have now, that do all the views kind of zoom out and watch it happen. I don't know how many views there are. It's quick. And after you enter the heart area between the shoulder blades, something occurs, like a gap of nothing occurring inside nothing. That's what it is. It's just knowingness that something occurs. And it is known for sure that whatever occurs is occurring here is a different structure than what occurs next, which is the opening of the eyes. Whatever the transition was, it is known for sure that they are two different structures. And the next panel, if we were to add one, would be what you see when you open your eyes. Specifically, probably your bedroom. But generally, the world, your earth, life, whatever you want to call it. This is actually the panel where physics would begin. The physical world appear. The appearance of the physical world. It is the very same experience that you're in right now, listening to this video. Welcome to the Gutenhame. Okay, that's it. That's the math of two. How did we do? I hate that I can't see you. This is where you bob and weave and ask questions and maneuver based on your audience, but I can't see you. So this is the math of two. It's the most condensed and most accurate to the structure. I just saw a scientist the other day. I forget what law he was talking about, but he said there's the law that we know 100% is true. And then there's the interpretations of that law, which are various and many. Same thing here. Although there are structural accuracies still in play, from here on we'll move more into interpretation, which is really fun. We're also going to be using a different version. This is the masculine version. It does feel more male, probably because of the giant ball and tube. The Math of 2 Bento is the only one that's going to have both masculine and feminine available. We're going to use the feminine throughout. It's the same thing. We start out with watching oneself arise out of nothing. Self-existence, emerge from non-existence. I would describe it as a light of self-knowing. If I had to define it, I would define it as I. It's often called I. Nod to the Rastafarians, I and I. Often called I am, the feeling of existing, I exist, self-existence. Most commonly referred to as consciousness. This is what the quantum said they just found, except way over here in this panel. That's a fun conundrum to figure out. We're calling it the Holy Bento. The whole, and the holy. In the Holy Bento is where the structural fluctuations occur, which we said was definitively the state of oneness. Yet there's two things here. What happens if we give them their own spot?
Well, Jim, the Math of 3 Gutenhame Self-Revelation Golden Bento, the SeRe GoBe.
Welcome to the MO3.
This was going to be the only one that I was going to do. It's the I and the 1-1 from the Fibonacci connected together. It's one thing in experience, two things in structure. And the rest of the story is the same. You watch yourself arise out of non-existence, and then... This is a very precarious one, because like I said, it does not affect you at all. A trusted voice for me in the spiritual world called it space, and it makes sense to the experience because they're just having no quality, so it doesn't do anything to you. However, it's illuminated. For me, space would not be illuminated, so I'm going to go a different direction. I call this existence, which would be, in science terms, would be the sum total of all possibility, i.e. everything. As an aside, that's what Wheat means from RAS.Wheaht and the Gutenhame equation, the sum total of all thoughts possible, for which AI said there's no formal word for. Yay, we made up another word. But it ends up just being existence, I think. The light of existence. It is what we would consider white light. The arising of the self is the first light, the Holy Bento. So we have non-existence, self-existence, existence. Nothing, self, everything. Together, they're called the Heart Bento. There are 3 panels in the Heart Bento. That is why we call it Math of 3. And for that reason only. That's what I called them to myself. The Math of 2 has 2 panels in the Heart Bento, and the Math of 4 has 4 panels in the Heart Bento. For you lower grade mathematicians. I know less about math than I do science. But since math is the language of physics, this is a good time to take a break and switch our language to mathematics. When I hear mathematicians say, first of all, they liken mathematics to poetry all the time. I can totally see that. But I also hear that mathematics is the language of nature, or mathematics is the language with which God created the universe. Stuff like that. So if that's true, then it must be in here, would it not? There is a definitive state of nothing, and there is a definitive state of oneness. Is that what numbers point to? Do they point to anything? Do they just point to concepts like a single instance of something? There's peripheral branches of mathematics that say 1 through 9 are living energies from which all things are made, which means they're in here, definitively. They must be, which sounds completely arrogant, yet it's kindergarten common sense logic to me. That's where I ask, am I missing something? I've maxed out my intellect. Cue the table of discovery. That's why they're in here. For science, we don't want to believe anything. Everything has to be tested. For math, I figure if this is good and true, it must be mathematically good and true. It must be scientifically good and true. All of these are looking for and finding the same thing at the same time. So first, which one of these 3 matches the findings from science? Which one of these matches the findings from math? Is there one? I think the painting answered itself for those questions. But the math of 4 BENTO has its own math to it. So I have another question. Is it correct? Does it have anything to do with what you do? I don't know. Math seems to be a language that you can make other languages out of. It seems wholly based off of pattern recognition, as far as I can tell. And once you notice those patterns, you can use it as a lens, its own lens, to kind of predict those patterns. For me, if I wipe everything clean and just start out with the first number...
That's not the first number, you moron.
What do you mean it's not the first number? I can't go to negatives. I gotta do the positives first.
Spell first.
First.
Spell it using the number.
Alright, well, wait. Well, you know...
I think the zeroth, zerond, zeroed, zeroth. I think the zeroth number is more firsty than the first number, so you'd shove that in your big fat face.
Now AI will write you a whole book on the history of zero, but at the time, it took me 6 years to find out what zero meant in a way that I understood. Even with the internet, I don't think I knew the right questions. And it came from Eric Weinstein on a Joe Rogan episode, who is like one of the switchboard operators for the Gutenhame. He brought the mathematician on to check the artist, Terrence Howard, who got a hold of math and science, threw it in a blender, pieced it back together with chewing gum, dipped it in liquid rubber, strung it from a cloud, and said, "Behold." Terrence found a piece of math that made sense to him, and he projected it out into some inventions and patents, and Eric came on and he said, "Yeah, everything you said was wrong. But your invention is cool." I say not so fast on that one. Artists are here to crack shit open. That's our job. I say, keep on going, Terrence. Don't stop. I love it. You can't give an artist unfettered access to math or science. But Eric Weinstein's 4 freedoms are one of the things that we're going to address. So let's move to the math of 4. We'll close this out and keep all of our discoveries in the next tape in one spot. We've already converted the I's to 1, and we're going to throw out a fun notion that in their original, finest structure, I and 1 are 2 words pointing to the same exact thing, referring to the same thing. Just the same as cup and mug both point to this. AI says there's no formal theory on it, but you can't go back any farther, unless you want to include the absolute, which is exactly what we do in the math of 4. Like we did from the jump from math of 2 to math of 3, we're going to leave a space here for the absolute and bump everything over 1. And that is what is going to stay, an empty space. We can make a painting of non-existence because it is a known structure, known by the absolute. There's nothing you can say about the absolute. It's finer than non-existence. It is that which watches itself arise out of non-existence. It sees both of them. The best word for me is awareness. It's the most general, the most plain, blatant, obvious, effortless, fixed, non-moving, so fine that it's unfindable, part of your experience right now as we're talking. All of this is occurring right now. It's true right now. And it all begins right here with the Holy BENTO, the whole, and the holy. It's the story of I, and everybody calls themselves I. This is why. The seer, the seen, and the seen are all the same thing. And we have our second Rasta nod to Bob Marley and his backup singers with his wife Rita, called the I-3s. With the Holy BENTO, the whole, and the holy. It's the math of the whole in the center of this thing, the cosmic bunghole. And anyone who's been to the Caddyshack Science Academy knows that a donut without a hole is a Danish. This is the Danish. The whole reveals the whole. The whole and the whole are the same exact thing. It's also the math of the eyeball. The heart BENTO would include the ball, but it's seeing. The eyeball is like a sphere that operates like a torus field. So it's the math of seeing, it's the math of the black hole. According to the SeRe GoBe, everything should take the shape of a torus field because the seer of everything, the mind, itself is a torus field. The Holy BENTO is actually the heart of the heart BENTO. As the first singularity in and of itself, it's just not the heart of anything yet. The first thing it is the heart of is everything. The Holy BENTO is the seer, the knower, the witness of everything. So let's stop there. If I get started, I won't be able to stop. We'll close out with the first possibility for Harvard mathematical physicist Eric Weinstein's 4 freedoms. He said everything boils down to 4 things. He doesn't know what those 4 things are. We don't have to leave the Holy Bento because time exists in the Holy Bento in this third panel. That's where time begins. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the first mathematical structural possibility for the 4 freedoms. If you don't want to include the absolute, you just bump down to the math of 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you don't want to include time, you just bump one more to the cathedral bento. In almost every definition we give from this point, because of the nature of the Holy Bento, you can almost turn 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 notches back and forth and the definitions will still be correct. It's so fascinating. Let's save that for the next tape. If you would like to consider this for entertainment purposes only, please do. Have at it. It's highly entertaining. For me, it's my life's work as a seeking painter, presenting my findings largely based off of 4 questions. What's the greatest of the greatest great? What's the greatest painting possible? What's the greatest thought possible? And then what is the greatest experience possible? Once you find the greatest thought possible, it doesn't really do anything, right? How long does a thought last? No, I want the experience. So the 4th question is really a quality of the first. I want the experience of the greatest great, not just the thought of it. So over 3 decades, the 4 questions became the table of discovery. The 4 answers that life gave to the questions is the SeRe GoBe. All 4 answers presented in one picture. The picture version is 1,000 times greater than the word version because it's completely silent. The picture version is itself 3 versions, each of which is the greatest but for a different reason. And when you combine the picture and the word version together, you get the whole volume in the form of silence immediately. The guru is the greatest structure and the first structure of the SeRe GoBe, and thus the greatest possible painting. The greatest version of the greatest painting is this. This very picture is where it all started for me. Is it greater if it includes you or doesn't include you? I say the greatest must include you, and it does now, and we can make it as big as you want. This is going to be put together in the future and serve 4 purposes for them. I don't know what it is, and I can't prove it, but this is the picture given to me. Make this. And it's taken me 15 years to figure it out. Nobody believed me, of course, so the SeRe GoBe is the story of why this is the greatest painting possible. Now, once a mind leaves itself, it can then return to itself, which I'm assuming is a great structural acknowledgement in physics somehow. If it's not, it should be. There's always 2 positions available once a mind leaves itself. It can keep going outward away from itself or return to itself. The inward is always greater than the outward. And you can add as many panels as you want onto the golden bento. If you go all the way out to 16 panels, that's roughly the size of the Sistine Chapel, which is what we picked in the first hour of the first time asking what is the greatest painting possible. In the year 2000, I chose the Sistine Chapel as the placeholder of what you would normally consider the greatest painting. It's its own bento canvas, and I only need the creation of Adam, the one in the middle, the center. The 2 sweetest moves in all of painting history are 1, putting God in the brain. It took someone 500 years to figure out that's what it was. Possibly only bested by leaving this space here, in between the fingers of God and Adam. That space is the SeRe GoBe. The beginning and the end are the same, and if you use the math of 4, it also has the space in it. The 2 ends of a spectrum touch the same thing, which would be here, here, or here. And they all occur at the same time, so they are 1 and they are 3. That's the conundrum of the Trinity, written about 10 billion times. This is the structure of that conundrum. If there is a God bento, it is the Holy Bento. I see that physicists have found a God particle. I don't know anything about it, but it should match this structure. If it does not, keep looking. If it is the God particle, then this is how it works. And the best part of it all is that we don't get a vote in it. It is what it is. The conundrum for me is that no one will believe me. We need somebody that people trust to tell everyone that it's safe and okay. Although scientist Mike did say that science has taken some hits in the trustworthy department, which just goes to prove we're all starting over. Art, science, spirituality, mathematics, the intellect. The intellect of man has been inverted for a very long time. What we're experiencing now is it reverting. I'm at a 99% rejection and ridicule rate so far. You guys are my Ogden Phipps. We're starting art, science, mathematics, spirituality, and the intellect over from square one. This is square one. It just happens to be the greatest painting. It is the greatest structure of the second greatest painting, which is the greatest structure of the third greatest painting, which is the greatest structure of the fourth greatest painting, which is the greatest structure of the fifth greatest painting. And anyone who buys these in 2026 will own one of the 5 greatest paintings possible, according to life. I don't get a vote in it. This isn't RAS.Wheaht's answer, this is life's answer. Yay or nay? From what I see, it's being found everywhere, from every angle, all over the place. Scientists, artists, mathematicians, intellectuals, philosophers, deep thinkers, botanists, musicians, painters, sculptors, spiritual seekers, men, women, children, housewives, plumbers, all the way down the line. Love is cracking itself open for everyone to see that it's always been here. As the seer, the seeing, and the seen. They're all the same thing, and they're all you. And the greatest form of seeing is absolute awareness. It is the default position, effortless, fixed, never moving, always present, in you, as you, for you, by you. 100% of your experience right now is that awareness. And 99% of your experience is the consciousness that arises out of it. And now that we've gotten back to square one across the board, and we're all on the same page, come back next time and we'll see if we can break some shit open. I love you so much. I can't tell you how appreciative I am that you're here. So sincerely. I hope to see you next time in part 3. Until then, peace out. Love on.